Hello everyone, this is Shadowman, and today I want to respond to the recent apology video by the fake Merc, which I actually think was much better than his previous attempt to do that. About a year ago he made kind of an admission apology video in which he distorted a lot of the facts, he blamed other people for his own misdeeds, didn't fully admit it, didn't fully apologize for it, and so this time he did it a lot better. Now a lot of people will say he's not really being genuine in this video. He simply finally figured out how to explain himself, how to apologize in a way that won't piss people even more off. And I think if he made this video a few years ago when that whole story started, it would solve 90% of the problems he created for himself. If he simply apologized right away and explained himself, instead of doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down and attacking other people who simply talk about him, destroying other people's channels, making death threats, brandishing his weapons on camera, telling people that he will kill them, making all those racist hate speech rants and all of that kind of stuff. So he went totally off the rails. The fake Merc story itself was not, in my opinion, the biggest problem. The biggest problem was all the other nasty behavior that he did during that same time. And all his other lies, which he never mentions in this new video. He never mentions all the other lies that people caught him with his own contradictions. And so he only talks about the fake Merc thing, which I guess is the one that he finally understood was the most damaging, the most damning, because that was basically stolen valor, even though he again tries to distort it so that it's not, but he obviously is ashamed of that. So at least finally he's ashamed of himself. Finally he admits, he says in the video, I was being stupid, and he accepts that it was all his own fault, and he apologizes to people, even though somewhere in the middle he implies that his female girlfriend was the one to blame and not him, that she affected him so negatively and all of that. So he still kind of shifts the blame a little bit, but for the most part he finally kind of appears to grow up and to finally apologize for the things he said and did, but not for all of them, and I'll get to that, and not for his million other lies, which that was the biggest problem, not that one lie. When that whole thing started, I was saying from the beginning, the fake Merc story itself, if he simply came out right away and said, this was just a joke video, I didn't mean it, I was joking, I apologize. If he did this video he made now a few years ago, 90% of the people who are pissed off about that particular thing would calm down immediately, but instead he kept doubling down, he kept insisting, no, it was a real story, and he kept censoring everybody, not just his own comments, but any channel who talked about him, he would flag it, he would false DMCA it, he would try to destroy any channel that mentions it, and that pissed people even more off. And of course people made compilations comparing the statements he made in various videos. Even years before the fake Merc story, he was already dropping hints about that kind of thing. He, in totally serious videos, in his Q&As, in which he was answering people's questions, and he always inserted some kind of little story like that. So he was kind of building it up for a long while, way before he actually openly started saying that he was a mercenary and all of that. I have 2 black belts and all kinds of stories like that, which later on he finally did admit was all bullshit, but he kept lying about it for years, and so it wasn't just, a few videos in which he did that and that's it. And maybe that's why he couldn't really apologize, because then he would have to admit he lied in thousands of videos. All those stories about his black belts, his stories about his father, which was also probably exaggerated and false, all his so-called background, and I'm not even getting into all the forum posts and all of that, because he did that before he was on YouTube, so I'm not talking about that in this video at all, but I'm talking only about what he said on camera in videos, and in a lot of comments he wrote. He even swore on his mother's grave that he really was a mercenary, and so that makes him, all of that makes it despicable, that he did it for years, not just in 1 or 2 videos, and yet in this new apology video he just apologizes as if it's just one video or a few videos he made, and that's it. But that's not the whole story. The whole story is you lying for years in thousands of videos, multiple lies, multiple contradictions, and the stuff about his Menir disease, which he contradicted himself about, the number of months he spent in bed kept growing every time he told it, and so many other lies, like the reverse grip 500-pound bench press, like always boosting himself up, always exaggerating, all those stories about him being with multiple women, like endless amounts of stories. I could spend a few hours just retelling all of that, and I did that in a lot of videos, and a lot of people ask me to upload some of them. I will have to kind of modify some of those videos simply so that they'll be safer on YouTube, and maybe I will upload some of them, without mentioning any names, so that YouTube won't be able to take me out for bullying someone, which I think is ridiculous. You can't really criticize anything anymore safely on YouTube. But anyway, I can and I did spend hours just covering all the amount of lies and bullshit stories he told. So it's not just the fake Merc, and he never apologized for all those other lies. And even when he was confronted about the 2 black belt thing by Alex Rozan, who interviewed him personally, he asked, why did you lie about that? And he said, why not? It's the internet. And he never apologized. And, some of that I could accept. Maybe it was just trolling, just like the not bald claim. He said that he's shaving his head and he's not growing bald. Even till this day, I think he never admits that. That one is so outrageous, I could accept it just being trolling because it was so obviously not true and so on. And I remember when this whole thing started, and he was doubling down and he was refusing to admit anything and he was attacking other people and censoring everything. He behaved in such a defensive manner that I really questioned his actual sanity. And I still kind of question that, because I thought no sane person will behave in this way, because it's just damaging himself and it's not even funny anymore. Like, it was always funny a little bit. That's the main reason people follow all of this, because it was kind of hilarious in a lot of ways. But I was actually thinking that, like, he might be actually crazy, because maybe he believes his own stories. That's how he behaved. Because any other rational person would fix his problem, all that hate campaign that started against him. Any rational person will try to stop it by admitting the lies and apologizing, and that's it. And but he never did. Maybe he thought it will make it worse if he admitted it, but it had the opposite effect. People got pissed off the more he lied. He kept trying to cover his lies with more lies. Like, people found his forum posts, and instead of saying right away that it was stupid stuff he wrote, he made a video looking straight at the camera to his fans and lying and saying that he was a science fiction writer who was paid to write all that stuff. So looking right at his viewers and then lying to their faces. So he kept covering his lies with more lies, and then attacking other people, attacking other people's channels. And at the same time as all of this was going on his second channel, he also made all those political videos, which was full of hate speech. He eventually deleted it because he got scared by YouTube itself, who probably got close to terminating that channel, and that would affect his main channel, and so he simply deleted all those videos eventually. But there's a bunch of compilations about that, and again, he never apologized for any of that. Was all of that also trolling? All those times he said, to eliminate certain groups from the face of the planet, and to kill children and stuff like that. Totally despicable. That's probably the worst thing he did. This is way worse than all the fake Merc stories. All those videos in which he directly called for violence, to kill people, to kill innocent people, to waterboard children, all those kinds of stuff, which he did in totally straight face all throughout. There was no clue that it was some kind of joke. If he made a disclaimer in the beginning of those videos saying everything in this video is pure comedy, I'm just playing a character, I would be fine with that. I would defend his right to make comedy videos pretending to be a crazy Texas guy or something, but he never did that. He always insisted, no, this is totally serious. And I do think he was serious in a lot of those videos. And some of it wasn't even funny. Like, if trolling's supposed to be funny, right? At least some of the fake Merc stories were funny. But all his hate speech videos, they were kind of generally disturbing. Like, watching an actually racist talk his propaganda. That it was disgusting. So it wasn't even funny. I think that's the number one thing he should apologize for. At least pretend to apologize, because that was the number one most despicable thing. And all the death threats he made, saying he will kill people, and the threat he made against Lane Norton's family, for example, which he never admitted till this day. And that again pisses people off even more, because if he would simply admit it right away and say it was a bad joke, I apologize, I didn't mean it, 90% of people would forgive him. But instead he lies and says, no, I never wrote that. And then he says even worse stuff. Then he threatens his family indirectly in a video. I remember there was a video in which he said, I have a bunch of weapons, I live in the same country, if I want to I can get to you, but I never will. But there was kind of implied threats in some of his videos. And he was brandishing weapons and saying he will kill people with his bare hands and all of that. So there was so much nasty stuff. And also, maybe the number one thing that pissed me off about his behavior is the fact that he was terminating other people's channels. And the way I came into the story at first, I was only making parodies of all of that. I actually found a lot of this stuff funny. That's the main reason I did this. I was always, a fan of troll humor. I always was making all kinds of joke videos about stuff. either from the news or from TV shows and all of that. And I kind of, at the time, I remember I had a bunch of parodies I made of Star Trek, all kinds of edits I made of Star Trek with nasty humor, and all of that got taken down right around the same time. And I realized I can't keep making that, and yet I enjoyed doing that kind of stuff so much. And then this whole thing started, and I was a fan of the fitness videos on YouTube, and I thought, oh, maybe I can now make parodies about that. I will just, instead of doing it with the Star Trek shows, which YouTube suddenly didn't let me do, and so I thought maybe I will switch to this, and then I will enjoy doing the edits, and also it will entertain a different audience and all of that. So I was simply making parodies of all of that. And yet he was attacking my channel, and he was filing false DMCA complaints from other channels, not even his, from the channel he claimed was not his. And the whole Copper Top 22 thing, which was the fake alibi he created to confirm his fake story, instead of simply, again, think about that, instead of simply apologizing right away when the veterans confronted him, he tried to fool them, he tried to lie to them again by making the fake video of the guy confirming his story. And I remember splicing it with some other videos of someone doing a similar swirl effect and all of that. And I was just playing around. I was just, I wasn't even attacking him. I was simply purely doing stuff for comedy. I was splicing the stuff he said with all kinds of action movies to make it seem as if he's inside an action movie, purely for fun stuff, for comedy's sake. And he was taking down my videos. And so it makes no sense that he was just trolling, because, when you're trolling, you're trying to be funny. So wouldn't he like those videos I made because they were simply making it even funnier? Like they were taking the stuff he says and showed it as if it's inside the movie, as if it's real. And so if he was just trolling, then wouldn't he like those videos? So why did he try to take them down? And that's why I thought he's not trolling, that he's being serious, and that he's taking out any video that he thinks will expose what he said before, because I don't know, maybe it's because he was just so scared because of that reaction. Maybe he did it out of fear, and if he admitted that in a video, maybe I could accept it, but he never said that. If he simply said, I was so scared and I was in such a panic and I didn't know what to do, and so I overreacted, I removed any video that mentioned the stuff I said in my own video, which I hid. I think at the time he hid all those videos, but people were uploading it. And so if he said that he behaved in that way because he was scared, maybe I would have some kind of empathy, maybe I would understand that. But at the time, I couldn't understand it, because if it's just trolling, then he would want people to talk about it. Then why does he censor his comment section? Why does he not allow people to talk and to joke about that? Why is he attacking everybody, destroying people's channels? So that's the number one worst thing he did on YouTube, in my opinion. And the second worst was all the hate speech, and only then I would put all the lies he told over the years, not just the fake Merc. And again, if it was just that, then I might accept this new apology video, if he made it back then. Now it's years later, it's ridiculous, it's kind of, everybody forgot about that. No one really, not a lot of people care about that anymore, because it's been so long. So to make an apology now, after years later, that's kind of pointless. But if he did it back then, I personally would have accepted that, and I wasn't even angry about that. And as for the question, is it really stolen valor or not? In this new apology video, he keeps insisting it wasn't really stolen valor. I think I will explain it the way that most people, I think, all those veterans, how they saw it. I think that when you claim to be a mercenary, that implies you did military service before as well, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to become a mercenary. You have to have been in some kind of military before that. And also, he was always wearing those kind of militaristic outfits that imply that he's in the military. And also at the same time, he had his tactical channel before he made it his political channel with all that hate speech. Before that, it was all about him shooting guns and all of that. And he was saying in many videos that that's his real passion, that he wants to open a tactical company to train people how to shoot and all of that. And he said he didn't want to train people with the fitness, it wasn't his real passion. And so at the same time as all his fake Merc stories became more and more bizarre, more and more extreme, at the same time he was saying that he was trying to open a tactical company and to get people to pay him to train them how to shoot and all of that. And so a lot of people thought, and I still think that's partly the reason, that that's why he invented those stories, because he had no actual training. So he had to make up something so that people would think he's an expert in that. And so he created all that backstory of maybe being a mercenary without fully admitting it, so that he will have, plausible deniability. He can always say, I never said that. it was just stories, it was just trolling, but maybe his actual aim was to make some people believe those stories for real, in order to make money off of it. And in this new video he says, I never made money from it and so on. So, but that was the intent. The intent was to make money using those stories, either through more views on YouTube to make his videos more interesting, more popular, and at the same time actually getting people to pay him for those shooting lessons or whatever he was planning to sell. So that was one of the reasons he created that fake image of himself as an expert, and he was always dressing in that way as if he's a former military, and to be a mercenary you had to have been in the military. And let's not forget all his stories about his father, which he said was a green beret, and all that kind of stuff in the military, which was probably not true in my opinion. Probably exaggerated, probably he was in the military, but not to that extent that he described, that he was like, the bestest ever in the military with connections and stuff. He even said, he even tried to use it to confirm his stories, because he says his father got him into that job and all of that. That's how he was able to get into it. And he, again, says all of that totally seriously, and swearing on his mother's grave that it was all true and so on. So how despicable is that? Even if it's just a joke. Would you really swear on your parents? You would use your parents to promote your BS stories? So that's why people found it also despicable. And also all his multiple other lies. He said his uncle is an astronaut, and he insisted that again in multiple comments and so on. So it was the amount of lies was endless. And the 2 black belts, being a martial artist, all those claims, all those stories, all of them totally made up or exaggerated. And so he never apologized for all of that. He only now apologizes only for the fake Merc story and nothing else. So what about all the other things I mentioned? We never heard any kind of apology for that. And someone mentioned in my comments that you once said if he admits and apologizes, he will stop making the videos. Yeah, I think I said if he admits all of his lies, but he never did that, even till this day. He only admits this one thing which he realized that he cannot escape from. At first, I think he was trying to simply bury this story. That's why he was censoring everybody. He made his own videos private. He was trying to remove any other video on YouTube that was talking about it, and he increased his own videos. He started making multiple videos because he was hoping to simply bury it so that people will forget about it and he will never have to admit anything. And he realized finally that it wouldn't work, because even till this day people still re-upload all that stuff, and he cannot endlessly go after all of that. It's simply impossible. Too many people still do it. And so I think that's why he decided to make this video, because he finally realized he's better off simply having at least one video that explains it in a way that will have most people forgiving him, instead of people always finding that in the search results. If anyone looks it up, he will find all the other videos, but he thinks maybe this way they will find his own video in which he apologizes, and then will accept it and move on. And I think maybe he decided, I think in the same day that he uploaded this video, a few hours before, someone re-uploaded a compilation of all of that, and maybe that's what convinced him to finally make a video about that and apologize. And also, I just came back to this channel. I was away for a couple of months, and maybe he just saw that I came back and I said I will be restoring some of my old videos, so maybe that got him scared. And I think the biggest reason maybe is because on all his videos recently there's a lot more dislikes than likes, and he knows that a lot of that is because of that whole story, that he still has so many haters that will dislike all his videos, and it negatively affects people finding his videos and all of that. If he has more dislikes than likes, his channel will not grow anymore, it will not be recommended on other channels and all of that. And that's why in a lot of his videos he begs for likes. He says please keep the likes higher than the dislikes, because it's important for him, even though in the past he also lied about that and said it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And so he knows that it damages his earnings and all of that. So maybe he decided to appease some of those haters, to make some of them stop damaging his channel by making this apology video. And that's why I say it's not really genuine, because if not for all that pressure by his haters, then he would never do that. He would never apologize for anything. He will never admit anything he did was wrong unless he has a reason to do it. And so that's why it's probably not so genuine. He only does that because of all the problems on YouTube, and that's also the reason he removed all those videos criticizing other people. He made his career on YouTube by attacking other people in very nasty ways, always trash talking other people. But now it's no longer safe on YouTube. I mentioned that regarding my own videos. My videos about him are also not so safe anymore. And that's why he removed so many of his own videos and not really doing that anymore. And he tries to pretend that it's only because he changed. It's only because he's now a better person. He's religious again or whatever. He constantly pretends now that he became a better person, and that's why he changed his attitude. But I know about the problems on YouTube, and so that's why I suspect that's the real reason that he changed, his so-called changed. And his apology, I think, is because recently almost all his videos, the dislikes are higher than the likes, and it damages his channel, his earnings, and so maybe he thought if he makes this proper apology, which does sound much more proper than the way he did it previously, in which he finally admits and apologizes directly about some of the things he did, and also explains why in his mind it's not stolen valor, what he did, because he thinks maybe this way some of his haters will let him go and he will not have so many dislikes anymore. So I think that's the main reason he finally did it, kind of broke down and finally apologizes. And as for the stolen valor thing, I explained why I think it is kind of stolen valor, because as I said, you cannot be a mercenary without being in the military first, because of all his other claims. Like one time he said he was approached when he was still in high school, people from the military approached him, tried to recruit him, and he refused, and then he became a mercenary because of his father, who is a green beret and in the special forces with connections. And so that is a kind of a form of stolen valor, because, you know, the stories about his father, the stories about the military wanting him, and of course all his abilities, he's better than the normal soldiers. So of course it will piss off real soldiers who really did risk their life and all of that. But again, I would have forgiven him for that. Personally, you know, I was a soldier in my own country, but I'm not really that angry. You know, it's just stories on YouTube someone makes. If he said right away, this was simply a comedy video, I was trying to be more interesting, so I told you a bunch of stories, I apologize. If he did it back then, I would be fine with that. And also if he allowed, you know, people to poke fun at that and to make parody videos, that's fair use. All the videos I ever made, all of them, I would defend them in court as fair use. I only used little clips, either from movies or from different channels, and I was splicing it together to make a comedy or to make a review, to talk about the issues. It's totally legal, it's totally permitted, at least it used to be. Now you can't really criticize anyone because, you know, it's all, everybody became snowflakes, and YouTube is protecting everybody, so you can't really say anything anymore which is remotely offensive. That's another topic, but back then, legally speaking, everything I ever did is totally legal, and him trying to take down my videos, that's the harassment, that's the bullying. So he was being a bully on YouTube, always trash talking other people, threatening other people, attacking other people, making hate speech videos, and trying to get other people terminated for simply exposing his nastiness. And that's what made him even more nasty, in my opinion. Now, as I said many times, I'm not going to devote my whole life to keep exposing all his BS. I think I will probably re-upload some of the funniest videos I did. I will modify them so that it doesn't violate anything remotely on YouTube, simply because I don't have the energy and the time to keep uploading everything, and also every time, you know, the comments get lost and all of that. So I really don't want to keep uploading everything forever, and that's why I will instead modify everything so that it should be totally okay on YouTube. And all the comedy stuff I will definitely re-upload, all the funniest bits. And what I won't re-upload was, in some places maybe I did kind of go too far in my own personal attacks against him, like I was giving him a taste of his own medicine, he was trash talking other people, and I was doing that to him. So some of that I will either, you know, censor that, or I will tone it down, and I will, again, to be safe on YouTube. And also, you know, morally wise also, I don't really want to be known for the guy who is trash talking a guy. Even if he deserves it, it still makes me look bad as well, that I'm spending all my time kind of obsessed with someone and attacking someone all the time. So that's not, my main goal was mostly always for comedy, maybe some education and stuff like that, but mostly my stuff I do on YouTube is to entertain people. So I don't really plan to keep humiliating someone forever, even if he deserves it. And also it's pointless after a while, everybody knows I'm not going to repeat myself constantly. So this was kind of a summary video to explain why this apology, in my opinion, is not really enough, but at least it was something. At least he admitted that he was being stupid. And that's also, you know, the biggest conclusion from all of this. You know, I made so many videos back then trying to psychoanalyze him, trying to figure out why he's behaving that way. Does he really believe what he's saying? Is he delusional? Because also, you know, in all those forum posts, he was writing all kinds of nonsense like having telepathic powers, believing in reptilians, all that kind of crazy stuff. And all of that together made me really think that maybe he's really crazy back then. Maybe he's really delusional and believes his own stories. And maybe his girlfriend at the time really believed him, and because she was defending him so much and so on. So that got me really curious, and so I made a lot of videos kind of trying to psychoanalyze him, to figure out what condition he has. But I think in the end of the day, the real answer was that he was simply stupid, as he just admitted himself. And that was the main reason for all of that. He simply behaved in a stupid way that no smart person would behave, and that made it all even more bizarre. And that's really the real answer to all of that. So maybe he wasn't crazy. Maybe he pretended to be crazy in some videos so that other people will be afraid of him, because he was so afraid, he was so scared that people will come to him. So maybe he deliberately wanted people to think that he's crazy, that maybe he might really shoot someone. And so maybe some of it was deliberate because he was scared. Maybe some of it was only due to stupidity. And maybe a little part was that he's a little bit crazy for real. I think Jerry Ward or someone said that he knows that he actually takes medicine for some actual condition, some mental condition, and that maybe after he moved from the UK back to Texas, he no longer could afford to get those medicine, because in the UK he got it for free, in the US he couldn't, and that's why he stopped taking it, and that's why he became more crazy. But I don't know if it's just stories or if it's reality. But I do think most of the problems was due to stupidity. It was pure stupidity, any way you look at it. Even if he really meant it as just being a trolling video, it was still stupid the way he did it and the way he behaved afterward that got people so pissed off. And only now, years later, he admits it, so at least he admits something. He did lie about a few other things in this video. For example, he talked about that lawsuit. He said that wasn't the reason he left the UK, it was because he broke up with his wife, and that's why he moved out. And obviously it has some bit of truth to that. I don't think he only broke off from her because of the lawsuit. Maybe it was going to happen anyway, but I do think the lawsuit, he actually said that a year ago in another video when he addressed it a year or two ago. He said that he outsmarted the evil doctor by moving all his assets to a different country and moving out as not to pay him. So he said that himself in a video, that was at least part of the reason for why he moved away, so that they couldn't get his money from that lawsuit. And now he says that he won that lawsuit and he wouldn't have to pay anything even if he stayed there, and that he only moved because he broke off with his wife. But it contradicts what he himself said a while ago about that topic directly, when he said that was why he moved, to hide his money. So anyway, that's another example of his many multiple contradictions. He kept contradicting himself. And regarding his fitness advice, some people would forgive him and say, I only follow him for the fitness information. But he contradicted himself about all of that as well multiple times, and I covered that as well. I made videos about that as well. So many things that he was attacking other YouTubers for, like Alpha Destiny, for example. He kept attacking him for using bands in his lifting, and he called him stupid and all kinds of name calling, and now he's doing all of that himself. All the same things he criticized, he never apologized for that. So if you changed your mind, then first of all, why don't you delete your old videos which now have bad information according to your own opinion? If you say what you used to think a few years ago was false, then why do you still keep all those videos? Because, you know, some people might stumble on those older videos and follow that advice. So if you think that advice is bad now, then why don't you delete it? Or at least, put some notification, put something in the title or in the description, some link to your newer video explaining why your previous opinion was not correct. But you don't do that because you want to get the earnings from your thousands of videos. So if you really think your old advice is bad, why don't you delete it? So it makes no sense. So you care more about the money you make and not actually helping people. And also, where is your apology to all the people you were attacking? You deleted a lot of those videos because you're scared of YouTube, not because you're a better man. If you're a better man, then you should apologize directly. Where is your apology to Alpha Destiny, who you called all kinds of names that I won't repeat because I might get strikes if I say what you used to say. But you called him all bunch of nasty names, and you attacked his lifting information, which you then stole, and now you're doing the same kind of stuff without ever admitting it. And so delete your own videos. Like, for example, the nutrition information. You used to say that the keto diet is so perfect, you're making multiple videos promoting that, then later you changed your mind and now you say it's a death cult. that it's bad information, you attack other people who promote it, and yet you keep your old video in which you also promote it. So if you really believe what you're saying now, then delete your old videos. So why don't you? So that's what makes you kind of hypocritical. If you really believe about that, if you're really about helping people and educating people, as you now claim, then explain what I just asked. Why don't you delete your old videos? Why don't you apologize? Why don't you clarify your attacks against other people, which now makes no sense? So I can keep talking about all of this for hours and hours, and so I think all of those issues, that's what makes so many people dislike you, not just the fake Merc story. That one was actually hilarious. If you said right away, this was a comedy, this was a joke, I apologize, I didn't mean to offend anyone, everybody would forgive you. No one would hold a grudge about that 5 years later. It's all your other behavior. It's your nasty behavior. It's your attacks against other people. It's your thousands of other lies. It's your flip-flopping without deleting the old stuff. It's your censorship, the way you don't allow any criticism against you. On your channel, of course, you delete everything. Even now, even in this new video, he said he will still keep deleting comments about all of this. Even after he admitted the fake Merc story and apologized, he says he will not allow people to keep talking about that on his channel. And of course, he still keeps deleting other people's channels. And so he didn't change. I don't think he ever changed. I think he is now more eloquently explaining himself and apologizing in a way that he thinks will convince more people. And he's right, because he did do it in a better way this time. But is it really genuine, and does it really justify everything he's done for years? And I'm talking about literally years of bad behavior. Cannot just be fixed with one apology. If he truly wants to repent, then he should stop attacking other people, removing other people's channels. He should allow free speech, which he claims to believe in. He always says he's such a patriotic American and all of that, and yet he's against free speech. He should address all his hate speech videos. He should apologize about that. He should say I was wrong and explain why it's wrong. And so he has a lot of work to do if he really wants to be forgiven and to really repent fully. He has to do a lot of good deeds to cover up for all the bad deeds he did and all the bad nasty stuff he said about other people. He should be extremely humble and extremely good person for a very long time before I can say that he's had enough, before I can say he should be forgiven. And so people who ask me, do I accept his apology? He never apologized for all the things I mentioned. He only apologized specifically only for the fake Merc story, which he is ashamed of because it's stolen valor. And so you can see that it bugs him that he committed stolen valor, and so that's why he keeps insisting it's not stolen valor. And he keeps making up excuses. My girlfriend affected me. I just broke off with my wife, and I was my mental condition was this and that at the time. Or he implies that he was scared because of the threats, and so that's why he responded in that way, or pretends it was all a joke, it was just trolling, and so on. So that's how he apologized in the previous time he apologized. He basically blamed his audience. He says, you're stupid if you believed it, it was so obviously trolling, how could you not see it? So in the previous time he was attacking his own audience. This time he's doing that in a more humble way, and accepting a personal responsibility, saying it was because he was stupid. So finally we hear some bit of honesty from him, admitting some kind of fault of his own, finally, at least somewhat. So at least it's a step in the right direction. So you know what, I do accept the apology, specifically of the fake Merc story. I no longer consider it a sin. I actually never considered it a sin. The sin was not apologizing after that, when you saw that it offends other people. That was the sin. Not making up a story for fun on the internet. That's perfectly fine, in my opinion. Technically, I did that also in my very first few videos as Shadow Man. I was also making up a story to pretend to be another copper top, because I wanted to see how he will react to that, and then to my surprise he pretended it's a real story, even in a chat with me. Anyway, I made the videos on that, and so I don't have a problem, obviously, of playing a character on YouTube, just like a movie actor can do all kinds of stuff in a movie. If you admit it's a movie, but if you're trying to pass it off as real life later, that's the problem. And when you attack other people, and when you censor other people, and destroy other people's channels, and insult them and curse them and threaten their loved one, that's the crime. That's what you did wrong, not the fake Merc story itself. So I do forgive you for the fake Merc story. Thank you for finally asking for a forgiveness for that. I do forgive you, but what about all the other stuff? That's where the problem is. And you know what? I also want to apologize. I did cross a few lines when I was making videos about you. I was talking about your family, about your personal life, which from stories you told. So I don't think it's totally illegitimate if you, as a public figure, you share your stories about your own family and then I talk about it. I think also it's not my fault. You made it available, but obviously you didn't want all of that to be discussed after a certain point, and yet I kept going, and so I talked about your mother, your father, your astronaut uncle. I was showing your family lines from information on the internet. I do think that was kind of crossing the line, and so you know what, I do apologize for that. That's why I will not re-upload some of those videos in which I talk about your family and so on. And so that was me crossing the line, even though at the time I thought I'm doing that against someone so nasty that he deserves it, but it's still a nasty act by itself, and so it makes me a nasty person. I will not be uploading some of my own videos about you, which in my opinion was too nasty, and it's not just because YouTube won't allow it. If that was the case, I would simply upload it to other websites like BitChute. That's where everybody are moving right now. People who get censored on YouTube, they move to other websites, and so technically I can re-upload all that stuff on other channel, but I don't want to because that makes me a nasty person, because talking about someone's, dead mother and stuff like that is not something to be proud of. And so you know what, I do apologize to you for that, but not for my other stuff, not for making comedy videos, not for making reviews of fitness information. So most of the stuff I did, I think is totally legitimate and educational and comedic and totally legal, and you had no right to take down my channel. Maybe those specific videos I just mentioned, if your problem is just with that, maybe I could justify that, but not all the other stuff. And I accept your apology specifically for the fake Merc story, but you still have a long way to go to apologize for all the other stuff you did. And I can probably keep talking about this for hours and hours, but I think, in the end of the day, the reason so many people were following all of this was because this was entertaining and comedic. And so I think that's really what I personally want to be focused on from now on, to at least, get the best we can from all of this situation, to leave all the nastiness behind and to simply focus on the comedic aspect of all of it and to create some entertainment. And that's what you should have done also, to poke fun at yourself, to admit it was just trolling and to roll with it and to make it part of your online character and to be more comedic, more obviously comedic, and then people will like it, people will enjoy your videos. And instead you were so ashamed that you tried to censor everything and you didn't allow people to express their opinion and to poke fun at you and all of that. So what was the point of trolling about yourself when you then later don't allow people to poke fun at it? And so that was so illogical and so stupid to do that. But at least finally you admitted that it was all stupid. But what pissed me off that you say that you still will not allow anyone to talk about it. So you still try to bury all of it, and I don't think you can. You never will be able to bury it. It's part of your life for a long while, unless you do so many good things later on that it will overshadow all of that little incident. That's what you should do. But another approach is to simply roll with the comedy of the situation. So maybe you should actually do those kinds of videos again, which will be funny, and simply say that it's all comedy, and then that's totally fine in my opinion, and you should allow other people to poke fun at that. And that's the approach that will entertain the most people, and also because it's so entertaining, then people will not hate on you because you provided indirectly some good entertainment and some comedic value, and that's also valuable. That's also something that you can even maybe be proud of. If you simply say, I'm playing a character who is so stupid and so goofy and all of that, that's fine. At least it will be entertaining. At least people will like it. At least people will enjoy it. Didn't you say yourself that you want to be an entertainer on YouTube? So now you're trying to reinvent yourself as purely a fitness coach, as purely someone who is educating people about fitness, and that's it. But that's kind of boring. I mean, how many times can you repeat the same information regarding fitness? That's the real reason for all those dislikes, I think. It's not so much the haters. I think your own fans, your own audience, a lot of them got sick of you, and yet they don't unsubscribe and instead simply dislike your videos or simply don't watch them or don't like it, but they remain your subscribers, and so your channel is going downward anyway. So it would have been better off for you to at least do something more entertaining, and those old stuff that you just apologized for, at least it was entertaining, at least it was funny in some ways. So maybe instead of hiding all of that, that's something you should have embraced, and you should have allowed people to talk freely in the comments, just like people on Rich Piana's videos were talking freely and trash talking everybody, and it only lifted that channel, because the more interaction, the more people talk in the comments, YouTube sees that, and YouTube will promote and recommend such a channel. So your censorship and your overreaction, destroying anyone who talks about you, only damaged you in the end. So you are your own worst enemy because of the way you behave, and it's mostly due to stupidity, as you just admitted yourself. So I do agree with that part. So at least you finally admitted something. So it's a step in the right direction, but it may be too late for your channel, in my opinion, because it's simply boring. That's the main reason people don't like your videos. It's not just because of trolls, and it's not because of some guy running a dislike bot, which is what he always said. He never admits that he has dozens of haters. Instead, he will say that it's one guy using some kind of bot to dislike his video. You can add that to the list of a million other lies he says. So that's all I have to say about it for today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we can discuss it in the comments. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.